As humans, we need to be with people. So let's do a gratitude check for the people in your life. Human touch is so important that when we are young, our brains don't develop correctly without it. So regular connection to others allows us to maintain a sense of well-being that clicks on certain hormones that actually want us to take care of ourselves. So if we don't actually have this connection with people, we actually lose the desire to take care of ourselves. So this picture is of my husband and I when we were in South America. So this was just this past February. And visiting South America was a dream of ours. It's been on our bucket list for a considerable amount of time, and we were lucky enough to make it just in time. And then in March, we were in Florida together with some friends, and that's been the extent of our traveling. And I'm not sure when we're going to get back to it. We did take a trip to see my brother, which is maybe a 2-hour trip. And that's been the extent of traveling. And it's probably the same thing with you. So my husband and I have been married 55 years. And for most of it, it's been very good. But with any situation, there's ups and there's downs. And as long as you have more ups than downs, then life is good. So, hi, I'm Mary Bourne. I'm a traditional naturopath, and I love sharing natural remedies with people for better health. Natural remedies have been around for hundreds, even thousands of years because they work. And today, even though I'm not talking about a remedy per se, I am talking about something that is vital for human health. So I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope that you like this video. Give me a thumbs up and share it with other people. Comment on it. I love hearing from you. And if you have personal things, then be sure to send me an email, Dr. Mary at bornforhealth.com, and visit my website, bornforhealth.com. There's lots of interesting things on it, as well as an A through Z listing of herbal supplements. So during the month of December, okay, we'll get there, November, I'm spending the month being grateful. You know, in November, we celebrate Thanksgiving, and it is a time to give thanks for the many blessings that we have in this country, that we have the freedom to do many things. When my husband and I have traveled, we saw many, many things in other countries that disturbed us. And when we came home, we realized how grateful we were for America and for our ability to have freedom. Now, that freedom is being challenged, and we really need to sit down and fight for that freedom, because it isn't something that we can take for granted. It is something we need to be grateful for. And with anything that is something to be grateful for, there's work involved. So we're going to spend some time being grateful in November, and I hope you join me. So many of us weren't raised with perfect examples of healthy relationships. Some of us more than others actually had to work through some toxic messages that came from parents and siblings. So wherever you are on your journey, I hope that you find some support around you and some help by viewing this. And perhaps if you you can like and share this video so that others can be helped. So years ago, my husband and I, we both love to learn and teach. And we learned of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, Abraham Maslow published this list of needs back in the 1940s, and they've been well studied. They've been kind of a cornerstone for many psychologists. And we understand that back in the 40s, life was a whole lot simpler back then. There were 5 basic needs. You needed air, you needed water, you needed food, and some sort of shelter. You needed temperature control of some sort, something to keep you out of the rain and wind and that type of thing. So there were certain needs, and he felt that those needs were enough to keep you happy. And for some people, a very small proportion of people, that is enough. But what we've discovered as human beings, we are people that need people, as Barbara Streisand would say. So physical contact distinguishes humans from animals. And even animals have some kind of a herding. They need to be with others. They will run in packs. There's very few of them that are actually lone. But the need that humans have is even greater. It's like I mentioned in the beginning, sets off certain hormones that we're going to go into. In some cultures, this touching is more dominant than in others. In fact, US, we're kind of way down on the list. My heritage is French Canadian, and let me tell you, they're a huggy bunch. So I can't remember going into my grandmother's house without my uncles and aunts hugging and kissing and exuberance and shouting, and there was this energy that would just fly around the house. And of course the good smells of cooking and all that kind of blended in, and sharing food with others as we do in Thanksgiving. And developing these relationships, is a really important thing. I'm so grateful that I knew generational love from my parents, from my grandparents, from siblings, aunts and uncles. And I do have one brother who hugs very wonderfully, breastbone to breastbone type hug. We're going to talk about that. And he's got these gorgeous dimples when he smiles. And it just, this energy just comes off of him that makes you want to be with him. So I have a sister who is very loving, but unfortunately she's fallen into this fear of COVID, and I haven't been able to hug her since February. It's very disappointing. So, but as a grandmother, I am grateful for children that hug me, for grandchildren that hug me freely, that they are not coached, that they come right up and on their own give me a hug. And hugging and other forms of non-sexual touching cause your brain to release something called oxytocin. It's known as the bonding hormone. This stimulates the release of other feel-good hormones like dopamine and serotonin. Now, these help to reduce the stress hormones like epinephrine and norepinephrine and cortisol. So if you can balance things out and get enough hugging in that compensate for the stress that we go through, I think that we are healthier for it. So human contact of hugging breastbone to breastbone is really, really important, because right along here is the thymus gland. And as we age, the thymus gland shrinks. And I think it shrinks due to lack of hugging. Now, I did a whole class on the thymus gland, and I will link this class in the description below so that you can attend it at your will. It's on YouTube. So I talk a lot about how the thymus kicks in the immune system. And I honestly feel that because my husband and I do this hugging regularly 10, 12 times a day, and for 20 seconds, you really need to sustain it. It can't be a smash in and out type of thing, or just, lightly touch each other. It has to be a full hug. You can actually feel this exchange of energy when you're doing it. So that exchange of energy is this release of oxytocin. So you can read more. I encourage people to do their own research. And there's also some research out there that humans become nearly unrecognizable in the absence of touch. That 200 years ago, French scientists spotted a creature resembling a human running through the forest. And once captured, they determined he was 11 years old and had run wild in the forest for much of his childhood. And originally, the child Victor was determined to be an idiot. French physicians and psychiatrists eventually concluded he had been deprived of human contact all that time, all of the developing years. And so there's also some science out there about failure to thrive, babies that aren't held, that are left in the crib. And this experiment had to be stopped short because they were realizing that these children were dying for lack of affection. So hugging and contact, facial interaction is really, really important. And it really hurts my soul to see children and parents masked up and not able to have this smiling, nonverbal communication that is so important in their development. Well, I hope you're getting some good information so far out of these videos. And if you are, if you have some questions and they're on the personal basis, be sure to send me an email at drmary@bornforhealth.com. So there's also this importance of multi-generational relationships, the ability for children to see the interaction of adults, older people, families where the father and mother are tending to the children, and then how the grandchildren can interact with the grandparents, because the relationship between a grandchild and a grandparent is different than between a child and their parents. It's the dynamics are really quite different. And sharing that ability and getting together and sitting on a grandparent's lap while they read you a book, or these are things that stay with us. They actually formulate our sense of well-being. So I'm very grateful for the relationships that I have. And my last slide is a picture of me with my Michigan grandchildren and son and daughter-in-law. So now if you consider, if you have a toxic relationship with somebody, that when you are with them, you don't feel good. You feel anger, you feel depressed. You need to talk to that person and try to heal that relationship. If the healing cannot take place, then you need to limit your time with that person, because when you're in touch with your feelings and you can understand that something is not right with this relationship, then it's either time to shore it up or forget it, because it is affecting your health. We know that now, and toxic relationships can have a huge impact on chronic health, or chronic illness, I should say. You look back, there's an emotional component on most chronic diseases, and there's lots of science to back that up. And then there's also a thing about personal boundaries. If you were raised with parents that didn't give you a sense of good self-esteem, you may need to shore up these boundaries and realize that you don't have to let everything in. You could just say, wait a minute, I don't deserve that. That is not something I accept. And maybe it feels uncomfortable at first, but as you start sticking up for yourself, you start realizing, wow, I deserve better. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of people that were raised in a codependent relationship and go on to seek codependency in their partners. And life, well, it doesn't have to be a life partner. What we think of as a life partner, but sometimes the relationship cannot be healed. Now, I have been lucky that I have worked through some very difficult times with my husband. I grew up in a household where my father was an alcoholic, and he didn't treat my mother very good. And so I didn't really fully understand that it was up to me to tell people how I how I expect to be treated. And I hope that you do that too. You know, there's a new system of understanding the immune system. Now, I think of the immune system as the I am system. So it really does have a lot to do with your health, how you view yourself, and more. So there's Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. He is out of Massachusetts, and he is a systems biologist. He has 4 PhDs from MIT, so he's a very, very educated person. He's developed something called the systems architecture of the immune system. And I'll link a YouTube video where he talks about the architecture of the immune system. Now, all of what we've been modeling for this COVID has been based on 2 aspects of the immune system that is at least 40 years old: the innate immune system and the adaptive immune system. Now, even when I got my degree, we were in discussing the interferon system and a bit about the microbiome. But in those 20 years, we have developed more information and understand better how the gut relates to the brain and the brain relates to the gut and how that interacts with our immune system. So I think you would find the lecture that Dr. Shiva says about the immune system, he's very good about explaining how this all works. So I'll link that. But I hope that you understand it isn't about distancing. It isn't about wearing a mask. A virus can get through the covering of your face. It isn't about droplets. It's about how you protect yourself and how your body can defend itself. And it isn't about all the germs out there. So I hope that you do some research. Stop listening to the fake news, the fake information. When we get information, it's how we see ourselves and the world, how we interact with that through that information. And if you're given bad information, you're going to react and respond poorly. And what you need to do is every once in a while check, what does that feel like? Go and check within you whether that feels true or not, because this inside you, not up here, but inside you, is going to give you the compass with which to run your life. Not what you read or see or hear. You have to take that information, drive it in, and then determine how you're going to use that information to make a better life for yourself. Let me tell you, this solitude has done more harm. It has killed more older people than any virus could. The mishandling of this virus has killed more people 10 times over and has done more destruction in people's health and welfare than any virus could have. It was a sham. So if you feel that a mask is going to stop the virus, you know, as long as you go inside and you search it out and you still believe that, then wear the mask. That's what freedom's all about. But don't tell me to wear one to protect you. That is as ludicrous as a thing can possibly be. Your responsibility is your health is your responsibility, and how you respond and how you act. Nobody else makes you act that way. So unfortunately, the main news has been bought out. If Facebook and Google really had nothing to hide, they wouldn't be fact-checking everything and censoring. You know, I never saw such censoring as when I was in China up until this year. We might as well be in China because Google and all the news and everything censored everything because they wanted you to know the narrative that was going to benefit them. So you need to go inside yourself and check it and make sure that it feels true to you. And I encourage you to find out more about the immune system and how it really works, and not how Dr. Fauci is going to tell you how it works, because he's 40 years behind the times. So in the month of November, as I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about gratitude. And next week, I'm going to talk about something that you may not think one would be grateful for. And that's when something bad happens. So I hope you tune in next week for that. And I hope that this video has been one that will maybe make you aware that there's a different way of looking at things, and get together with loved ones. Don't let somebody mandate how you're going to spend your time on this earth. Pray, eat, love. There's really nothing else. So this is my family, my wonderful granddaughter Jessica and granddaughter Sarah, my son Brian and his wife Carol, and this is my husband and I at Sarah's 20th birthday. She was born in the year 2000. So it's really easy to remember her birthday. So don't forget to send me an email, and if you can't find a person to hug, find a cow. So I thought this was hilarious that people are so hug deprived that they actually have a business where you have to cover yourself with overalls and you go out in the field and lay down next to a cow. But apparently there's energy. You know, cows are mammals. They can give off energy, but personally, I would rather hug a person. So if you are hug deprived and you want to hug somebody, come on now, and I'm ready to give you some hugs. So I will leave links to Dr. Stephen Covey's video, as well as Dr. Shiva's information, as well as the class on the thymus. And until next week, I hope that you're enjoying this last little bit of beautiful weather as we are here in Michigan. I want to thank you for viewing today, and just get out there and hug. Don't let somebody else tell you how to run your life. So this is Dr. Mary for the Health of It.